Hi, my name is Jonathan Lowery. I'm an assistant professor of physiology in the College of Osteopathic Medicine at Marian University in Indianapolis, Indiana. In recognition of National Osteoporosis Month, I wanted to join others in sharing a short video about my personal motivation for studying this disease as a basic science investigator. Part of my story is personal, in that I watched both grandmothers suffer from the effects of osteoporosis, and along with the rest of my family, we felt the effects of the disease. One of my earliest memories that I can pinpoint as having to do with osteoporosis came from the late 90s when my paternal grandmother, her name was Lottie Lowery, fell and broke her hip. She was a little bloody, a little scuffed up, and she was complaining that she could press exactly where her hip hurt. And even though I was a young teenager at the time, I knew that a broken hip was a very bad sign for a senior citizen. The paramedics were called, she was put into the hospital, and then for the rest of her life, from that day forward, she was wheelchair bound. She never regained mobility. And along with that loss of mobility, she lost considerable independence. It meant that she was catheterized for the rest of her life. And along with catheterization, she had numerous urinary tract infections. It meant that she could no longer be left alone at home. In case something were to happen, she had to have a family member or another caregiver stay with her. It also meant that there was a tremendous care burden that was placed on my father for serving as her primary caregiver. Now, she lived for 18 months or 2 years after that. And even though I can't blame that broken hip as being her cause of death, I do know that her quality of life, her independence, and her overall health declined rapidly after that broken hip. Fast forward about 10 or 12 years, the same kind of thing occurred for my maternal grandmother. Her name was Myrtle McKay. She fell, broke a hip, and then not too many months later, fell again and broke the other hip. I watched both grandmothers suffer from the effects of osteoporosis. To the best of my knowledge, neither of my grandmothers were ever treated with bone-stabilizing medications like anti-resorptives, and never with anabolic therapies. Now, as a basic scientist and a medical educator, I try to instill in the lecture hall that osteoporosis is not just a silent disease. It's not just a broken bone, but it's all the things that go along with that broken bone. It's the loss of quality of life. It's the impact on independence. It's the increased risk of mortality. It's the burden that it places on the family and other caregivers. That's why I study osteoporosis.